Welcome to the Deep Focus Update. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more updates and thrilling short scenes. On October 16, 2025, a seismic shift in global diplomacy erupts from Ottawa, sending shockwaves through the corridors of power around the world. The Canadian capital, usually known for its measured politics, suddenly finds itself at the epicenter of a global storm. The announcement reverberates across the border, shaking Washington, D.C. to its core and leaving American officials scrambling to respond. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, renowned for his financial acumen and global reputation, signals a dramatic pivot. Canada is openly considering a sweeping economic partnership with China, a move that could redefine the nation's future. This isn't a minor trade tweak. It's a direct response to relentless U.S. trade pressure, especially President Trump's threats of crippling tariffs on Canadian autos. The stakes for Canadian industry and workers are higher than ever, and Ottawa is determined not to be cornered. Carney's message is clear. If America can't be trusted as a reliable partner, Canada will look elsewhere for its future. The era of automatic North American solidarity is over, replaced by a new era of hard choices and shifting allegiances. The U.S.-Canada relationship, once a model of cooperation and mutual benefit, now faces an unprecedented test. Decades of trust and shared interests are suddenly in question. Carney frames the China move not as betrayal, but as a sovereign choice in an unpredictable world. He insists Canada must act in its own best interest, even if that means forging new alliances. The stakes are enormous. This could reshape North American alliances and global power dynamics for years to come. Allies and rivals alike are watching closely, aware that the balance of power may be shifting before their eyes. Ottawa's warning is unambiguous. Canada's loyalty is not guaranteed, and its future path is up for negotiation. The message to Washington is unmistakable. Take nothing for granted. The world watches captivated and anxious, wondering if this is merely a bold negotiating tactic or the beginning of a historic split that could alter the course of international relations. Just days earlier, Carney met President Trump in Washington, a meeting thick with tension over trade. The official agenda was broad, but the real issue was the future of North American trade and looming auto tariffs. Trump, blunt as ever, called the negotiations a natural conflict, especially over autos. Publicly, the leaders exchanged pleasantries, but behind closed doors, the divide was stark. No breakthrough emerged. The alliance remained frayed. Carney left with polite words, but no progress, reinforcing Ottawa's urgency to seek alternatives. Other topics, defense, fentanyl, even Gaza, couldn't mask the central drama. Trump's offhand remarks about a U.S.-Canada merger only highlighted the disconnect. For Carney, the message was clear. Canada can no longer rely solely on its southern neighbor. The time for new strategies had arrived. At the heart of the conflict is Trump's favorite weapon, tariffs. The U.S. has threatened steep import taxes, targeting the deeply integrated North American auto industry. For decades, cars and parts have flowed freely across the border, fueling jobs and exports. Now, Trump's protectionism treats this integration as a weakness to exploit. Commerce Secretary Lutnick has warned Canada to brace for major auto concessions. Previous tariffs, justified by the fentanyl crisis, showed no sector is safe from U.S. unpredictability. For Canada, auto is vital. Hundreds of thousands of jobs, especially in Ontario, are at stake. Tariffs would mean plant closures, layoffs, and recession. Yet the U.S. overlooks how tariffs would also disrupt American supply chains and raise costs for its own consumers. Canada faces a stark choice: capitulate or break free from U.S. economic dependency. As U.S.-Canada tensions peak, China seizes the moment. Beijing extends a sweeping offer: preferential trade terms, access to its vast market, and major investment in Canadian infrastructure and tech. For Canadian exporters threatened by U.S. tariffs, this is a lifeline. China's move is more than economic. It's a geopolitical play to undermine U.S. dominance in North America. Accepting would give China a powerful foothold in America's backyard and a new G7 ally. For Carney, the offer is leverage. He can negotiate with Washington from a position of strength. The very existence of China's proposal shifts the U.S.-Canada dynamic, but the risks are real. Closer ties with China bring concerns over human rights and intellectual property. Still, with U.S. threats looming, China's bold offer is hard for Canada to ignore. The decision could redefine Canada's future. Carney's China pivot is part of a broader strategy: trade diversification. Led by Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand, Canada is determined to reduce its reliance on the U.S. Years of unpredictable U.S. trade policy have shattered old assumptions of stability. Canada is also deepening ties with India, a vast and growing market. Trade delegations are laying the groundwork for new partnerships across Asia. The goal: position Canada as a key player in a network of rising powers, buffering against U.S. shocks. Canada's reputation as a middle power and multilateralist is now a diplomatic asset. Public sentiment is shifting. Many Canadians now support forging an independent path. Carney argues that economic sovereignty depends on a diverse portfolio of partners. The era of putting all Canada's eggs in the American basket is ending. The growing rift between the U.S. and Canada is more than just a diplomatic spat. It's a warning sign of a much larger trend: American isolation on the world stage. Once, the U.S. was seen as the reliable anchor of global alliances, but now, cracks are starting to show. Trump's America First approach, using economic threats even against long-standing allies, is backfiring. Instead of strengthening America's position, it's pushing friends away and making adversaries bolder. As partners like Canada seek new alliances and diversify their relationships, U.S. influence is beginning to wane. The world is watching, and many are rethinking their reliance on American leadership. Canada's openness to China is a red flag. Shared history and values can't withstand constant hostility and unpredictability from Washington. New partnerships are being explored, and old loyalties are being tested. If the U.S. can't be trusted to stand by its allies, those allies will hedge their bets, and rivals like China will eagerly fill the vacuum left behind. The absence of American leadership is already being felt at global summits. New economic blocs and trade partnerships could emerge, sidelining the U.S. in global commerce. The world economy is moving forward, and America risks being left behind if it doesn't adapt. This isn't just about Canada. Europe and Asia are also growing frustrated by U.S. unpredictability and shifting priorities. Allies are questioning whether they can count on America in times of crisis. America's vast alliance network is its greatest asset, built over decades of trust and cooperation. But treating allies as adversaries erodes that strength, and rebuilding lost trust is never easy. Canada's pivot should be a wake-up call. Protectionism and isolationism risk leaving the U.S. on the sidelines in a world that's moving on without it. The consequences could be long-lasting. The superpower's future depends on rebuilding trust with its closest friends, renewing its commitment to cooperation, and embracing the responsibilities of global leadership once again. October 2025 marks a crossroads for the U.S.-Canada relationship with global implications. For decades, these two neighbors have shared not just the world's longest undefended border, but also deep economic, cultural, and security ties. Now those bonds are being tested as never before. Carney's consideration of a China partnership is a direct response to Trump's hardball tactics. Faced with mounting pressure from Washington, Canada is exploring new alliances to protect its interests and diversify its economic future. The risk is clear. In trying to win a trade battle, the U.S. may lose a crucial ally. Diplomatic friction is growing and trust is eroding on both sides of the table. The auto sector dispute has exposed Canada's vulnerability and opened the door for China's strategic offer. Canadian industries, especially manufacturing, are feeling the strain, making them more receptive to new partnerships. If Canada aligns more closely with China, the North American balance of power shifts, and other allies may follow. The ripple effects could reshape global alliances and economic networks for years to come. America's leverage and unity against Beijing would weaken. The Western Front, once solid, could fracture under the weight of mistrust and competing interests. The very strategy meant to strengthen the U.S. could leave it isolated. In a world of shifting alliances, going it alone carries real risks. This is a cautionary tale. Alliances depend on trust, not threats. Lasting partnerships are built on respect, cooperation, and mutual benefit. The U.S. now faces a choice: double down on protectionism, or rebuild the partnerships that underpin its strength. The world is watching, and the outcome will shape the future of global leadership. The future of the Western Alliance hangs in the balance, and the decisions made now will echo for generations.